Hello everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel. As I, Fonz the Falco, thank you so much for taking time out of your precious day to check out another video here. So my YouTube channel, bringing back some non-podcast videos. I got another set of video ideas I have for this channel, and that is looking back in the sports world. Now for some of these videos in this series I'm going to do, I'm going to be looking back at current NFL players, the top players, or NBA and whatnot, and look back at where they were drafted and look at the players that were selected before them, and kind of compare how their career stacked up with the player that I'm going to be talking about. And for today, I'm going to be talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown has quickly risen as one of the top receivers in the NFL. Some will say in the top 5. I think he's in the top 10. I think he's one of the rising star receivers in this league. Quickly with his college career, he attended USC from 2018 to 2020. And in 30 games, he recorded 178 receptions for 2,270 yards and 16 touchdowns. In the 2020 6-game COVID season, he recorded 41 receptions, 478 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And he had a pretty solid career with the Trojans, earning honors for the 2020 first team All Pac-12 honors. And he originally was projected to be a first-round pick by some scouts, but as the draft got closer, he did slid down to the second round. Even some people had him in the 3rd or 4th round, with some expert analysis saying that he would end up being just a second string to a borderline starter receiver. And that's kind of what happened with his draft stock. He ended up being drafted in the 4th round, 112th overall by the Detroit Lions. His rookie season, he actually did really well with 90 receptions, 912 yards, and 5 TDs. In his sophomore season, you saw a really good improvement where he hit 1,000 yards for the first time in his career, and also his first Pro Bowl honors. This past season in 2023 was arguably his best season in his young career with 119 receptions, 1,515 yards, and 10 touchdowns. That included a first-team All-Pro honors and another Pro Bowl selection. And as a member of Fonzie's Lobos fantasy team, I gotta say I am a huge fan of Amon-Ra St. Brown. So for his career, he's had 315 receptions, 3,588 yards, and 21 touchdowns. So yes, we could say he's one of the top receivers in the NFL. He's had a nice improvement from his rookie season now, and the future is very bright for the Lions and St. Brown. But did you know there were 16 receivers that were drafted ahead of him? So that's what we're gonna take a look at right now. We're gonna look at the 16 receivers that were drafted ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown and compare their careers and see, did they make the right call? And it's very simple. But before we get into the list, let's take a look at our sponsors here at Arichi London Jewelry. Are you looking to upgrade your jewelry game? Add some accessories to your outfits? Well, I got you covered. Arichi London is a men's jewelry company based out of London. Let me tell you guys about the product. The products are either silver or gold plated with 18K gold or premium 316L stainless steel. And the finishes for the jewelry are created with anodizing and dipping multiple times to thickly seal and plate the jewelry for maximum and unbeatable durability. You know what that means? It means the product will never rust, tarnish, or turn your skin green. You know what the best part is? All the products are completely waterproof, sweatproof, and heatproof, and they'll never fade, tarnish, or even rust. And the products are waterproof, sweatproof, and heatproof. And that means they'll never fade or tarnish. Another good thing, the products are 100% hyperallergenic, and you can wear any pieces 24/7. You don't have to worry about your skin developing a rash because the product does not contain nickel. And this is good for me actually because I have really, really sensitive skin. I have a couple of nice chains to them, a nice pendant here, the compass, and I got some bracelets here, a gold and silver one. The bracelets and the quality of the jewelry overall is really, really good. And it's a really good price. And you can get even better price if you use my code FONZ, F-O-N-Z, for 25% off your order. And also you get some free shipping on top of that. What more can you ask for? I'm telling you guys, it's some good quality jewelry. I'm really into accessories. I'm into some jewelry. So you guys, if you want to check out Arichi London, go to arichilondon.com. Get yourself some high quality either chains, pendants, bracelets, or rings right now. And use code FONZ, F-O-N-Z, for 25% off your order. Go do that right now. Now with that out of the way, let's take a look at the wide receivers that were drafted before Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 2021 NFL Draft. Ja'Marr Chase to the Cincinnati Bengals. Ja'Marr Chase arguably was one of the most hyped wide receiver prospects coming out of the 2021 NFL Draft and was taken 5th overall in the 1st round by the Cincinnati Bengals. A decorated college career, over 2,000 yards, a national champion, top wide receiver award, unanimous All-American, All-SEC honors. The resume speaks for itself. He had a great college career. And his career in the NFL has lived up to the expectations. In 45 games, he had 45 starts with 268 receptions, 3,717 yards, and 29 touchdowns. We know he had an incredible rookie season, earning the Offensive Rookie of the Honors in 2021 to go along with a second-team All-Pro selection and a Pro Bowl nod. He ended up getting 2 more Pro Bowl nods in his 3-year career so far, and as a Ravens fan, I hate seeing Ja'Marr Chase play every single year because he gives the Ravens absolute nightmares. And there's no doubt that Ja'Marr Chase is a top wide receiver, probably one of the better receivers in the NFL, depending on who you ask. So you compare his career to Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think the Bengals obviously made the right call here. Chase, I think, is better than St. Brown in my humble opinion. But you compare the careers from St. Brown to Ja'Marr Chase so far, I think the Bengals made the right call. Ja'Marr Chase is a star receiver, one of the top receivers in the NFL. Some might say he's better than St. Brown. Some will say St. Brown's probably better. I personally think after watching it for so long, I think Chase is better. but this was a nod. The Bengals got it right here. Jalen Waddle to the Miami Dolphins. Jalen Waddle was drafted right after Jamar Chase with the 6th overall pick by the Miami Dolphins out of the University of Alabama. He also had a pretty solid career, 106 yards, close to 2,000 yards, and 17 touchdowns. A national champion, SEC Freshman of the Year, Special Teams Player of the Year, First Team All-SEC, and also Second Team All-SEC in the 2020 season. In 47 games with the Dolphins, he's recorded 251 receptions, 3,385 yards, and 18 touchdowns. In his rookie season, he ended up getting all rookie team honors. Now, Jalen Waddle is a great receiver. He's one of the underrated receivers, I believe, too. He plays second fiddle to Tyreek Hill, but he has stepped up in his own right when he was called upon. Now, I think he has a bright future with the Miami Dolphins, but I think that St. Brown should have been the better option here. Can you imagine Amon-Ra St. Brown paired up with Tyreek Hill in this Dolphins offense? It'd be absolutely scary. So I think St. Brown is the better choice over Waddle. Waddle is still very good, don't get me wrong, but you compare the two, I'd rather take St. Brown. But still, the Dolphins had a pretty solid pick. Devonta Smith to the Philadelphia Eagles. Devonta Smith had an incredible career at Alabama, winning the Heisman Trophy, which is very rare to see with a wide receiver. Two-time national champion to go along with the Heisman campaign, unanimous All-American, two-time first-team All-SEC. The resume speaks for himself. Over 3,000 yards, a little under 4,000 actually, going with 46 touchdowns. This guy was electric in college. Getting selected 10th overall by the Philadelphia Eagles. He ended up dropping a little bit due to his size, but he actually had a pretty good career with the Eagles so far. In 50 games, he's recorded 240 receptions for 3,178 yards to go along with 19 touchdowns. Now, Smith, much like Waddle, is in a situation where he does play second fiddle to their star receiver, with the Eagles being A.J. Brown. Now, did the Eagles make the right call here with this pick? Listen, Devonta Smith is a very good receiver, but if you compare to Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think St. Brown is the better receiver. Still a solid choice for the Eagles. Not bad. Kadarius Toney to the New York Giants. Now we're getting to the head scratcher picks here in this draft. Kadarius Toney was drafted 20th overall by the New York Giants out of the University of Florida. Compared to the other ones previously mentioned, he only had 120 receptions for 1,590 yards and 12 touchdowns, with a second-team All-American selection and a first-team All-SEC selection. Now, a lot of Giants fans weren't too thrilled about the pick. A lot of head scratchers with this pick, and honestly, I feel the same way. It was a very weird pick. Listen, there was potential there. He had the talent, but he just couldn't stay on the field. Only lasted a season and a half with the New York Giants. He ended up getting traded to the Kansas City Chiefs, where actually is a two-time Super Bowl champion and has a Super Bowl record for the longest punt return ever with 68 yards. So, hey, it goes in the record books. In 32 games with 10 starts in his career, Toney's had 82 receptions, 760 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Safe to say this was a bust pick for the New York Giants, and let me tell you, if they had Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Giants' receiving core would look a whole lot different. Rashad Bateman to the Baltimore Ravens. This one hurts for me as a Ravens fan. I was a big Rashad Bateman fan at the University of Minnesota. I expect him to do great things. The Ravens' receiving core was dull at the time. They took him 27th overall, and I had high hopes for him. He had a good career in Minnesota with 2,395 yards, going with 19 touchdowns. Big Ten wide receiver of the year, first team All Big Ten, and third team All Big Ten in 2020. He's had some injury-riddled season with the Ravens, only playing in 34 games to go with 93 receptions, 1,167 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Now, for me, as a Ravens fan, I have high hopes for Bateman. I think he's going to do well. I think he'll turn around at some point, but man, can you imagine if the Ravens had Amon-Ra St. Brown? This would have been an electric offense with Lamar Jackson. Still, maybe a little more biased here compared to the other receivers, but I think Bateman's still going to step up nicely. Hopefully he does. I just hope he does. But still, compared to St. Brown, St. Brown's had the better career. Elijah Moore to the New York Jets. The New York Jets selected Elijah Moore, 34th overall in the second round, the first receiver taken in the second round at the University of Ole Miss. He had 189 receptions for 2,441 yards and 16 touchdowns during his career at Ole Miss, earning All-American honors and first-team All-ACC honors in 2020. He played 2 seasons with the Jets and eventually was traded to the Cleveland Browns, asking for a trade. He played with the Browns this past season. In his career, he's had 44 games, 139 receptions, 1,624 yards, and 8 touchdowns. There was a lot of hype of Moore, especially in his second season. Ended up not turning out too well with his Jets tenure. Even on the Browns, too, has dealt with some injuries here and there. Comparing it with Amon-Ra St. Brown, they made the wrong call. If the Jets had Amon-Ra St. Brown in this offense, this would look a whole lot different. Would Aaron Rodgers be there? Who knows? But it would have been really interesting to see. But Elijah Moore was not the right call compared to Amon-Ra. Rondale Moore to the Arizona Cardinals. Rondale Moore was drafted 49th overall by the Arizona Cardinals from the University of Purdue. There was a lot of hype at Rondale Moore, a smaller gadget guy type of player for the Boilermakers. There was a lot of hype surrounding this guy heading into the draft. Obviously, his stock fell a little bit due to his size, but they thought whatever team would grab him, they would use him as a gadget guy, special teams player, returner, maybe doing some run end-around plays here and there. He had some pretty good stats at Purdue with 178 receptions, 1,915 yards, and 14 touchdowns. All-American honors honors in 2018 and first team All Big Ten honors. Right away his freshman year, he had a huge impact with the team. Rondo more recently just got traded to the Atlanta Falcons after spending the first 3 years with the Arizona Cardinals. He had 33 games under his belt with 20 starts, 121 receptions, 1,068 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Safe to say the hype with Rondo Moore has not lived up to the expectations with his Cardinals tenure. Hopefully it would turn around with his Falcons tenure now, but looking back on it, the Cardinals should have taken Amon-Ra if they wanted a wide receiver in that spot too. Could you imagine St. Brown on that Cardinals offense with Kyler Murray throwing him the ball? And potentially if they get Melvin Harrison Jr., that would have been a very, very deadly wide receiver duo. Dwayne Eskridge to the Seattle Seahawks. A head-scratcher move now. At the 56th overall selection, the Seahawks took Dwayne Eskridge from Western Michigan. Now, he had a pretty good career at Western Michigan, 122 receptions, 2,260 yards, and 15 touchdowns. He earned second-team All-American honors in 2020. He was actually the MAC Special Teams Player of the Year in 2020 because he was an excellent kick returner. And the Seahawks only had 3 draft picks at the time, and they wanted to use him to spark up the return game and be a nice, solid slot receiver for the Seahawks. It just has not lived up to the hype. He's only played in 24 games, recorded 17 receptions, 122 yards, and 1 touchdown. And he's been a solid returner when on the field, but that's the key when he's on the field. He's dealt with injuries and suspension this past season. It's safe to say that Eskridge is kind of looking like a bust for the Seahawks. Now comparing him to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Could you imagine if the Seahawks drafted St. Brown with the 56th overall selection instead of Dwayne Eskridge? That offense would have looked really scary with him, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. I like to talk a lot. You guys can figure that out by now. I talk a lot of times with so many words, 1,000 words a day with content and whatnot. There's one word that always sticks to me, that is grateful. I'm always grateful to do stuff like this, to podcast, make some YouTube videos, some TikToks. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for the life I have. I'm all about spreading positivity because, you know, the world can be a cruel place at times, but there's always some nice to have some positivity here and there. That's what the people at Grateful Apparel are all about. Grateful Apparel, it's always been about you, the change, the fighter, the one who refuses to settle with the cards you were dealt with, the uplifter, the passion chaser, the one who knows that hitting rock bottom just means you're about to shoot to the top. Their brand is focusing on positivity and changing moods around the world, and I cannot agree with them more. The message is great, and their clothes are also really great. Got a lot of different shirts, hats, and hoodies. I got a couple of shirts. I'm wearing one right now. I got the hat here. Really, really good stuff. I like the shirts. Has like a vintage look to it, and the graphics are really cool. They're always changing it, always having some new stuff drop. The merch is really, really good. I love their message, and I love their clothes, and you're going to love them too if you head over to gratefulapparel.com right now. Use code FONZ, F-O-N-Z, for 15% off your order. Get yourself a new shirt, a hat, whatever you want to do at Grateful Apparel. They got really good stuff over there and a really good message. You want to support their brand. Good pricing there, and you'll get even better price if you use my code, like I said, FONZ, FONZ, for 15% off your order. gratefulapparel.com. Head over there right now. Tutu Atwell to the Los Angeles Rams. Tutu Atwell was drafted a pick after Dwayne Eskridge with the 57th overall selection by the LA Rams from the University of Louisville. He's had a pretty good career with Louisville, 140 receptions, 2,207 yards, and 21 touchdowns. He made the All-ACC team in 2019 and the 2020 second team All-ACC team honors. Now with the Rams, he was more as a return guy, special teamer in his first couple seasons. This past season, he's played in the third wide receiver role with Cooper Kupp and the rising Puka Nacua. In 37 games, he's had 18 starts with 57 receptions, 781 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And you got to factor in, he's also a Super Bowl champion. While he didn't play because he was on IR that season, it's a nice little accomplishment under his belt. Now, Tutu Atwell is a good, speedy receiver and a good return man, but comparing him to Amon-Ra, can you imagine Amon-Ra with that Rams offense with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and also at the time with Odell on that Rams Super Bowl offense? That could have been really deadly. But still, Tutu, not a bad receiver, but compared to Amon-Ra, the wrong call here. Terrace Marshall Jr. to the Carolina Panthers. Terrace Marshall Jr. was drafted 59th overall from the Carolina Panthers out of LSU, was actually the second receiver behind Jamar Chase, and had a pretty good career in his own right. 106 receptions for 1,594 yards and 23 touchdowns. He was also on that national championship squad. And a lot of teams were saying Jamar Chase was the better receiver, but some people said Terrace Marshall, in the right situation, would thrive too, because he was also a good receiver in his own right. Panthers took a gamble on him in the second round, and safe to say it has not lived up to the hype. In 36 games, he's had 16 starts with 64 receptions, 767 yards, and only 1 touchdown. He's had a lot of injuries in his career so far, and there was a lot of hype with him, like I said previously, because he was going to play second banana to Chase, but they thought in a team he could be the number 1 right away. Hasn't lived to the hype. There is still time for him to grow because he did have the talent coming at LSU. Still, with the Amon-Ra, he would have been a lot better choice for the Panthers. Josh Palmer to the Los Angeles Chargers. Josh Palmer had a pretty good career with the Tennessee Volunteers. 99 receptions, 1,514 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Chargers viewed him as a speedy gadget guy, and that was the case here. In 43 games, he had 22 starts, 143 receptions, 1,703 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Pretty good receiver when called upon, but was stacked behind the likes of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, for example. But this year, with those 2 receivers gone, he has a chance to step up nicely. You even saw little flashes of it at times last year when Allen and Mike Williams were out with injuries. Still, compared to Amon-Ra, I think he would have been the better call here in the Chargers. Imagine Amon-Ra, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams at the time. That would have been a scary offense for the Chargers. And I think now with those two receivers, as we mentioned, gone, if St. Brown was there, they'd be in a lot better situation. Dyami Brown to the Washington Commanders. Dyami Brown was drafted 82nd overall in the 3rd round. This is the first receiver taken in the 3rd round from the University of North Carolina. And he was electric in college. 123 receptions, 2,306 yards, and 21 touchdowns. 3rd-team All-American in 2020, 1st-team All-ACC in 2020, and 3rd-team All-ACC in 2019. This guy was very electric and fun to watch in college. The then Washington football team took a gamble on him in the 3rd round to replicate that success he had in college, and safe to say it hasn't lived up to the hype. In 47 games, he's only compiled 7 starts with 29 receptions, 476 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Viewed as more of a return man, it hasn't really lived up to the hype with Brown too. You wanted him to step up nicely as a regular receiver role, especially taking that high in the 3rd round. It was not a good call compared to Amon-Ra still on the board. Could you just imagine if Amon-Ra was on this Commanders roster now? The receiver room would look really good comparing him with Scary Terry McLaurin. It would have been a really good one. It's safe to say Dyami Brown has not lived up to the hype and was a bad pick for the Commanders. Amon-Ra St to the Green Bay Packers. Drafted 85th overall in the 3rd round by the Packers. The former Clemson Tiger had a good career with them. 181 receptions, 2,144 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Was part of that Clemson national champion roster. It was a 2020 first-team All-ACC honors. The Packers brought him in to be more of their punt returner, and his first season was pretty solid, but in 2022, it's when it started to become rough. He dealt with a lot of fumble issues, and to the point it was so bad the Packers ended up cutting him midway through the 2022 season. Was picked up by the Texans for the rest of the 2022 season and dealt with some more fumble issues. Signed with the Colts in 2023 and only played in a couple of games, and now is currently on the UFL's Birmingham Stallions. In his NFL career, he's only had 35 games, 2 starts, 20 receptions, 249 yards, and a touchdown. There was a lot of hype with Rodgers to see what he could do in the return game and in the receiver role. Sadly, it was a bad pick, did not live up to the hype. Could you imagine if St. Brown was on that Packers receiving call with all those guys like Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson? Would Aaron Rodgers still be there? Who knows? Nico Collins to the Houston Texans. Drafted 89th overall. The Houston Texans selected Nico Collins at the University of Michigan. 78 receptions, 1,388 yards, and 13 touchdowns. There were some questions about Nico Collins seeing how he would do at the NFL level. And while it took him a bit, this past season was actually a really good one for Nico Collins. In his career, he had 150 receptions, 2,224 yards, and 11 touchdowns. And like I mentioned in 2023, had well over 1,000 yards and cemented his name as one of the better receivers in the NFL. Now, if it wasn't for this past season, the jury would still be out on Nico Collins, but I think he's had a very good career so far. I think he's on the rise for being a top receiver in the league, or at least a good maybe 3rd option with now Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. Overall, in a pretty good situation, I would say. Now, it's been really cool to see Amon-Ra with CJ Stroud and Tank Dell. Maybe they would have not gotten Stephon Diggs in that offense, but still, Nico Collins, not a bad selection, but compared to Amon-Ra, he's the better pick in my opinion. Anthony Schwartz to the Cleveland Browns. Anthony Schwartz played with the Auburn Tigers football team, but also was a member of the track team, and he was very, very fast. At 117 receptions, 1,433 yards, and 6 touchdowns with the Auburn Tigers, and the key him heading into the draft was speed. Speed, speed, speed. And that's what the Browns did with the 91st selection in the 3rd round. They thought we're going to get a speed guy. Now, Saleh didn't do that much with the Browns in 3 seasons, had 14 receptions, 186 yards, and only 1 touchdown. Dealt with a lot of injury here, only playing in 25 games. He got cut in the beginning part of the 2023 season and spent this past season on the Miami Dolphins practice squad. Hate to say the Browns did not make a good selection here. Could you imagine if Amon-Ra was on that Browns roster? And lastly, Dez Fitzpatrick to the Tennessee Titans. This is just a very weird pick for the Titans here. Coming out of the University of Louisville, there was a lot of praise for Fitzpatrick. 154 receptions, 2,589 yards, and 21 touchdowns. The Titans at the time wanted to find a guy to pair up with A.J. Brown. Thought he'd be a solid receiver in the pack. And, well, it just has not lived up at all. Really didn't last all because it only lasted 2 seasons with the Tennessee Titans. Injury issues, drop issues, and everything in between led to them releasing Fitzpatrick midway through the 2022 season. Signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2023, he did not last long, ended up getting cut and re-signed back to the practice squad. In his career, Fitzpatrick's only played in 6 games with 5 catches for 49 yards and 1 touchdown. That's pretty much 1/4 of an Amon-Ra St. Brown game. Safe to say this was a bad pick for the Titans, and can you imagine if the Titans drafted Amon-Ra, which again, Amon-Ra was drafted 112th overall, Fitzpatrick was drafted 109th overall. They were right there. so close. And those were the receivers drafted before Amon-Ra St. Brown. Which one surprised you of the bunch? Let me know down below. As per usual, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Tell a friend, tell a couple of friends. Hit the bell, share this video out. Like I said, with this channel, I'm going to be doing some non-podcast videos on this channel. The podcast will be on here weekly, but a non-podcast video will be on here either Monday or Friday, but you'll have one at least one a week. Like what my niche is, it's a grab bag, could be a sports video, could be a ranking video. I have no idea what it's gonna be. I kind of come with it on the fly here and make it out here. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. If you like the podcast, check out the podcast Slick Back Kickback Report wherever you get your podcast. If you don't like the video version, the audio version is always available wherever you get your podcast. You can follow my side channel, Fonz Talk Jerseys, where I talk jerseys on the channel, exclusive jerseys. Got a lot of stuff good coming out of there. You can follow my TikTok, my Instagram, the X, down below at FonzDeFalco. Support the sponsors of the channel, Richie London Jewelry and Grateful Apparel. Get yourself some stuff, use the codes. The links are down below. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a good day, good night, good evening, whenever you're watching said video. And I'll catch y'all next time. Peace out.